Welcome back to Over the Shoulder. This is our special Kwanzaa edition. And for today's episode of Kwanzaa is day 5. It's Nia. Nia stands for purpose. So when I think of purpose, I think of this brother who I've known since 13 years old, middle school, in the trenches.
Hey.
And I just
snotty nose.
I've seen him grow from a boy to a man, and he has a great message on how we should be living our life, specifically breathing on purpose. And I just always really relate to the message that he puts out with trying to get people to make every moment intentional. So when speaking about purpose, I knew I had to bring this brother on. This is my brother, man. I'm actually gonna let you introduce.
I'm looking forward to
I knew you from a different name back in the day, but now you go by something different. So
go ahead, man. Put it all in there. Everybody know me.
Okay. How do you want to say?
I mean, I go by Ty. Nowadays, you know me as Maurice.
Yeah.
A lot of people know me as Maurice.
Okay.
And that's cool. Like, everybody call me whatever they want to call me. Honestly, I go by whatever. A lot of people know me as Breeze. A lot of people know me as many different things, but I think there's just one central focus in recognizing me and who I truly am. I each day I just go by purpose, like you say, and living in the way that I'm living this life. I don't care what I'm called. I just care about how I'm living and what I'm doing to better that name, whatever it is.
Okay, so Ty,
Yep.
Maurice, Breeze.
Yeah.
So all those 3 names, what unifies those 3 names?
It would definitely be the passion. I mean, me as an individual, but just my passion for life, for people, for finding just truth, really, in who I am and who others are, and what I'm here for, what I'm living this life for, man. Honestly, is truly what I think Synchron creates a connection between all those different names. I would think that would be the central thing, is that I'm just super passionate, and that's what ultimately is leading into my purpose. I'm identifying what I'm passionate about, and that's it, bro.
Passion. I will say, knowing you this long, you've always been a very passionate individual. Just because we went to class together, field trips together, we played sports together, and it's just one thing that people could say anything about you, but one thing I'll be like, yeah, that's a damn lie. They say he didn't put his all into it. You were passionate. You were going to leave it all on the field in every aspect. And to this day in this life, you're leaving it all on the field as a husband. Mm-hmm. You're leaving it all out on the field as a business owner. Yep. You're leaving it all out on the field as a friend. You're just a good quality person to just know. It's just,
thank you.
If anyone ever said that, yo, Ty is this and that, I'd be like, that's lies. That's lies. And like you said, you just got a misunderstanding. You got a misunderstanding, because I know he's passionate. I know he always wants to do good. That's just always you. Just anytime I'm around your energy, it's just I always know that you want to make the best of this moment. There's very few people who always are just bringing
You're gonna bring tears, man. Come on now. Whenever we get together, we do this now.
I give people flowers. Like I said, because
I appreciate it.
I'm very selective about the people who I have around me. So when I don't care about the name. I care about the energy. I don't care about what the money. I care about the energy, because energy is everything to me. So when I tell people, when you see people and I'm doing stuff constantly for them and with them and stuff like that, it's because I truly enjoy them. I want to be around them. It's infectious. It's just, I always feel that I'm becoming better just being around them. And hopefully it's vice versa.
It is,
hopefully.
It is, man. Because that's what I don't know if you had something else you were about to say, what you're about to lead into, but you live, I see you as a mirror right now, honestly, based off what you just said, because that's exactly a very small circle. I'm very focused on discernment and God and my relationship with God, ultimately. That's really what leads me into a lot of the things that I go into. And that's how I am constantly gaining discernment in my life, is through just the relationship with God and talking to him all the time. And that's really, if you don't have anyone else, all you have is yourself and God, truly. If everybody else was to leave your life, your parents are no longer here, you don't have friends, you don't have siblings or anything. That's all you have, and you came into this earth with that. That's what you came into this. You were born into this world, and it's so funny. I was reading this article because I'm kind of sometimes I get like I'm very philosophical in a lot of ways. I read a lot, I think a lot, but like one of the things was death. I was thinking about death the other day, and I often think about death and stuff like that, but like not in a negative way or anything or crazy way or anything. I mean, it's I think about it just from a standpoint of fear, like and not fearing death. And I personally feel like I don't fear death, and I wonder why. I oftentimes and just yesterday I read an article. I was like, well, I just wanted to see like what is it that makes a person not fear death? Like
And
what leads a person?
What did the article say?
What? So it. I can't state the who created. I'm trying to remember who wrote it, but it was like just a random page I went to, and it was saying that it was speaking to just being able to think back to when you were before you were born, not thinking about the matter of death itself or the process of death itself or life post death of you not being here, but think about to help you better ease into it and understand it. Try to think about before you were born, before you were conceived, that prenatal period of you being in the body, because that truly in its essence is death itself. If you kind of think that deep into it and try to get to that level. And that's a very good point. Nobody can think about that. Nobody can really comprehend that. And death itself is not anything that we can comprehend. It's not an experience. Like nobody dies and then is able to live about it and tell about it, like, or they don't, I mean, you can't talk about the experience of death because once you're dead, you're gone. But like, that's just something that is a part of life, and it's so far out of our comprehension that it's so far on and we're so far removed. Sometimes we don't think about it, but then sometimes when we do think about it, people get scared and fearful of it because it's something that is not normal to people. Although it is something that happens every day, it's not something we normally think about. So I'm totally rambling on right now, but I think
cool.
that
I like where this is going because, like, for me, I've been thinking about things from a different perspective, a different lens, how we see stuff. So it's like majority of people do fear death, but they fear death in such a negative way. So when everything is like the status quo is like it's this and we're gonna feel this type of way, I try to think about, okay, let me flip it. So I was watching I watched the Dark Knight trilogy. So Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. Like I've watched it over these holidays. And the journey that Bruce Wayne goes, because he's scared of bats as a child, then he makes it his moniker. So he uses the fear of bats to become like his thing to create fear in his enemies. And through using that, he actually ends up not having fear at all. But the last movie, which is, I love The Dark Knight, and everyone loves The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger did his thing. But Dark Knight Rises is actually my favorite of the trilogy because he has to regain his fear back in order to save Gotham, because he had to fear dying. At that point in Dark Knight Rises, he felt like he had saved Gotham, or crime is at an all-time low. He's defeated the mafia and all this stuff. The mob is gone. And they don't need Batman anymore, quote unquote.
Right.
And so he feels like, okay, so he doesn't fear death anymore. But then in order to defeat Bane, he has to find that fear again in order to drive him past a place beyond death. And I feel like that's a very powerful thing, because fear is our greatest motivating agent. Like when you fear, like you said, if you saw a lion, you're gonna run faster than you you Spider-Man at that point. You hopping on buildings, Superman, and you're gonna push your body to levels because that's that fear.
Right.
And so I tell people, like, look at the fear of death in a positive way, because you don't know if today's your last day. None of us know. None of us know if this is our last moment. This, like I said, and if I say this could be our last moment, people are like, oh, don't say stuff. It's like, but it could be. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna enjoy the conversation I'm having with my brother. You're gonna enjoy the conversation you're having with me, and we're gonna enjoy this moment. So if this is our last moment, we made it that moment. But then if you start thinking about it from that, you start thinking about your different relationships. When you say goodbye from the person, you're probably gonna say I love you. You're maybe not gonna leave a conversation mad and angry over something trivial. You're going to take that moment and really appreciate it, because you fear that this could be the last moment. So I want to live. And then we think we're getting older now, but it still feels like, we got 50, 60 years to be able to accomplish this type of stuff. And it's like it feels like it. But we don't know. And it could be, but it's like, why not just take every single day and just put your foot on the gas and just keep going and just keep driving after the purpose that you want to fulfill? Like, why take your foot off the gas? Like, why? But fear if you like, hey, listen, I don't know if this is my last day. Like, if this is like, I would ask anybody, if this is your last day, what have you accomplished? Are you proud of the life you lived? And if your answer is no, which most of our answer is gonna be no, because we know we have other things we want to accomplish. All right, so tomorrow when you wake up, don't stop. The next day, don't stop. 2023, foot on next.
Right.
Like that's just.
You said it.
But that's what it is. That's that drive that fear does put into us.
Right. And so you need a bit of fear. You definitely need fear.
But positive mentality, positive fear. Like I said, every emotion that we have can be positive or negative. Right. Joy can be negative. Sadness can be positive. It's about
what we assign to it.
Yep, and how we use the actions that make us, what we're gonna do with it. So.
I love it. And that's just it. Like, I think that you talk about fear and the lion, man. I got a Leo at home, so trust me, like I know about fearful and being fearful of lions and stuff. So, but I mean, like that's something that she deals with, like the talk of suicide, right? Suicide is a real thing. Depression, it leads to suicide, and depression is something that everybody experiences depression in some form at some point. Like, it may not be you may not be on the spectrum, and it may not be a disorder for you, but you're going to experience it in some way at some time. And being able to step outside of that zone and being able to like realize your worth, I think is so important in the grand scheme of things, and having a bit of fear for, like you say, like, and that's really what I may not fear the experience of death. I may not fear dying, but I do fear all that I have not done in a way. Like, you're right. Exactly. Just what you're saying. Exactly.
You fear that I didn't fulfill my purpose. Yep. Like that's and like this. Okay, if you fear that, all right, so now let's take the steps day by day to start fulfilling it. Like that purpose.
And that's just it. And that's living each day, like you say. So, and what I'm talking about in breathe in, breathe out, and breathing on purpose. That's what I'm speaking of.
A dope brand. Man, dope brand. We're not going to skip past that.
I appreciate it.
It's a dope brand, and it's like I said, it's literally about breathing on purpose.
Yeah.
So it's every moment, every breath. We breathe every single day. It's probably, I don't know what, thousands, millions of times a day. Yeah. Making all of those breaths a purposeful breath. Yeah. That's his brand.
And it's just like death. Like, that's why, this is what part of why I was reading the article, and this is why I read a lot of stuff, just because I like to draw connections and I like to prepare myself for the future, because there are things I can learn from this article should something come up in the future that could potentially help me in that moment. So, with death, for example, it's very much like breathing. Like, death is so far off that we comprehended it so far. If it's just outside of our comprehension, that we don't think about it all the time, and it's just absent in our mind. It's just like breathing. Like, it's so close to us and it's so innate.
We just do it.
We do it.
We don't have to think about it.
And that's where we go wrong a lot of times, I think, with death and with breathing. Like, with breathing, we aren't thinking about it. We're just doing it every day. We can spend the whole day just watching TV or just pining over something that went wrong yesterday, watching TV, or just binging or whatever it is, and that's cool. Like, everybody needs rest, like, and that's a part of breathing on purpose. Like, you need to have discernment and recognizing what your time needs to be used for. And that's part of why, again, I say my relationship with God is like utmost. That's the number one thing, because he'll always be able to direct me. He'll always be able to tell me what it is that I truly need to do in that moment in time. And I'll feel it on the inside. I'll feel that I can connect to that and actually not necessarily, just feel like it's something that it's not a passing thought. It's not me just going through the motion. I'm intentional. I'm breathing on purpose and being still and having recognizing that's a part of that. That's all a part of it. So
I do have to ask, because like I said, since your brand is breathing on purpose, like, what do you believe purpose is?
What do I believe? Well, I feel like purpose is truly like your passion. Like, your passions lead you into your purpose is what I ultimately feel. And Purpose, no one knows what their purpose is. Like I mean, not when we are first born. We ultimately get that feeling, like at the end of the day, after you found your passion and you're practicing it and you're like doing it over and over again, and it's repetition and it's still feeling like a passion and you still feel compelled to do it. That's when you found your purpose, in my opinion. And when it's something that is doing good for the world, when it's something that is making you better, it's making the world better than what before you started doing that or before you came into it. That's when you found your purpose. You found a sweet spot. It's like your value proposition in terms of business. You find a skill that you're great at. You do that. If you can make money off of it, it's a triangle. You can make money off of it if you're good at it, and if you are an expert at it, then you are, and you enjoy it. Then you have found your sweet spot. And that's the same thing with purpose. It's like if you can feel compelled by it, if it's doing good for the world, and if it's doing good for you ultimately.
I like that. I love that.
That's going to get you into your purpose.
I love that. So I definitely got to ask you that. I have a heavy hitting question that I've been asking everyone this. So I feel like with our generation, we've taken on this mantle of breaking generational curses. I feel like if we had to sum up our generation in like what was our purpose for it, it was to break the generational curses that plagued our parents, our grandparents, really the 400 years that we've been oppressed in, this society, this world. Like we really we're done with this. Like I feel like that's what we have purposefully taken on. And so that's a heavy purpose to take on, because a generational curse is nothing light. It's been around for a minute. That's like saying hey, I want to destroy something that's been around for 300 years. It's been around for 300 years. It has weapons that we can't fathom. We can't fathom because it's survived all these different things. It's survived the technology boom. It's survived these things.
We feel it, but we can't even see it. It's so ingrained.
It's so ingrained.
It's crazy.
So I've been asking people how do you think as a generation that we can continue to break generational curses? Like what can we do? Like what are the steps that we can take to just help break them? I know that's what I say. It's a heavy question.
Definitely. I mean, to break generational curses, I mean, it's unity, obviously. Like that's we're talking about it, but Kwanzaa is so amazing in its concepts and its principles, I think. But unity is something that I know, we're a bit of loners. We said we have small circles, right? But you have a small circle, but at the same time, you still have people that you confide in, people that you consult with, people that you have taken the time to be still and recognize, okay, they are good people. They are here trying to fulfill their purpose. They're breathing on their purpose. Let me join them in that and find what my purpose is. Let me find my passion and let me help them. Because ultimately, if we're all in that same zone, we're all doing something to better ourselves and to better the world. So that's ultimately that's first thing, right? You're trying to find some unity and you need that support, that backup. But then also I guess that would be more of the second tier. I guess the first tier is finding it within yourself, and having a bit of time and being still and meditating on how you love yourself. That's the first thing. Number one, I would say that would be it. Is continuing to love yourself. If we had to reverse this, it would be love yourself, recognize what you are passionate about, find others who are doing the same for themselves, and you do that for them as well. You love on them the way they want to be loved, the way that, and this is so funny, my wife, she was just telling me, because I was telling her, the golden rule, golden rule is love others the way you want to be loved. I'm telling her, no, that's what I'm doing. That's because that's what I'm created for and all this. And she's like, yes, I get it. But she's like, you have to meet people and love people where they want to be loved too. You need to take it a step further. And she really just made me open my eyes, because that's a fact. Trying to love people just the way that I only know how to love myself can be detrimental to others, because others aren't in the same position that I am. They're not in the same situation that I am. So I can't love them or can't give them the same attention that I give myself. It could hurt them at the end of the day. It could be something wrong for them. So I have to take time and be intentional about spending time with them and understanding them and what their passion is and loving them ultimately, which is how I would want to be loved. Like at the end of the day, I would want somebody to understand me and like love me the way I want to be loved. So that's what she took it a step further, the golden rule, and that would be the number one thing is recognizing yourself and how you want to be loved so that you can then share that with others and then do the same for them. And then that finds unity. That naturally creates unity. Once you start that process, you know, you got to start it with yourself, but then that process, finding others, it then creates that bit of unity. And then from there on, loving the way you breathe, I think that leads into breathing on purpose, because that's just it's an everyday thing. Once you find your passion and your sweet spot, you'll begin to just naturally do it, and others will gain that value from it. And they'll be able to see, oh, wow, this person, they're doing it for themselves. What are they doing that's so special? Like what makes them unique? Nothing makes them unique from you. I mean, now biology, the way they look, everything, but we breathe in the same air. We got the same amount of time, all this stuff that we're doing. Like we were born in this earth the same way. You know, some people are born with health deficiencies, but that's so funny that like people who are born with health deficiency, there are so many success cases you will look and see.
I saw someone born without arms and then they were driving with their feet, and I was like, what am I doing with my life? Right. Like, because again, it's like it's
and the joy. You could sit in that car with that person and they'll be joyful.
Yeah, but it sucks sometimes that like they can see their purpose and like go harder because they have this is very quote unquote a lack, because it's not a lack in my opinion, but it's, you know, it's saying that it is, society sees it as a lack. Right. So, and they will go harder because of that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that shouldn't be the thing that motivates us. Mm-hmm. So like going back to like breaking generational curses and everything like that. Because what I've been telling people about Kwanzaa, about the principles, about everything is that, first of all, to me, it starts in an individual level, like meaning self. Mm-hmm. Every single thing. So like purpose, you have to be able to find that in self. How you were just saying like your passions lead to purpose. So it works there. And when you all 7 other principles, when you unify those 7 principles within self, then you can unify it with like your community. Mm. So I tell people like, start with yourself with each of the days. Yeah. Like it doesn't like, you can celebrate Kwanzaa just by yourself. You don't need it to be a whole thing. Literally, you can just meditate on the first day is unity, meditate on unity. How am I unified in self? Because you're going in, it's at the end of the year, so you're going into a new year. How can I be more, you know, what's my purpose for this year? Like, and then you can have conversations and spread community and all that kind of stuff. And for me, how I told you, our generation is like, we want to break generational curses. I personally believe that the principles of Kwanzaa, and if we really like adhere to them, would break it. Because again, the first day is unity. If we unified as a community, and then we, second day, self-determination. We decide what our identity is. What are we going for? Mm-hmm. Then the third day, collective works and responsibility. Yep. We assign roles, and every role is important. Yeah. And you know, if we make mistakes, we're taking responsibility for our actions. The fourth day, cooperative economics. So we're sharing, giving energy, spending with our own, or within our own community. Fifth day, we're deciding our purpose. Okay, like what's the bigger picture of what we want to solve as a generation? Yep. 6-day creativity. So that's putting the seasoning on it. Like that's the fun part. That's the fun part. That's the music. That's the poetry. Right. That's the films. That's all this stuff. But you're unified with all those first 5 principles. Yep. And then the 7th day, faith. Yes. You know, it is out of your hands. Like a lot of it is. But when you do those 6 principles and you just give it like, yo, listen, we're doing every single thing that we're being. You know, we know that a higher power, God, you got us.
He gonna take care of us.
He's gonna take care of. You do that, generational curse is done. Generational curse can't touch you at that point. Your children won't have this generational curse. Right. That's a bigger purpose for me, like actually sitting down having these conversations. I want to raise the awareness of how can our yesterday problems are not our today problems, and we're not passing them down to our tomorrow legacy. Right. Like that's what I want to do. So
man, that is, you know what? But we already got the mold, and we have the people, and we have God always. So we got everything.
I don't think it's as hard as we make it seem. I think we got to get our own way to a certain extent. It's like, we just gotta, like, I always tell people, you gotta let ego go. You gotta let like just stay. We are oftentimes standing in our own way. Like for me,
what do you think? I mean, I'm curious to know, what do you think that causes that? Like, what do you think? What is the cause of us getting in our own way? Now that would be my thing. Like, what makes people? Is that Fear of missing out.
I would
fear of
say
something.
I would say the negative fear. So are we talking
Negative
about
fear.
positive fear? So negative fear. But I think honestly, I think we fear how great we can be. I think to think about like, okay, so if I told you right now, we're breathing on purpose. If I said in 5 years, it's gonna be $1 billion company. It's gonna be every household's gonna know your name. Like you're gonna be inspiring the masses. Like when we think about that, yeah, that's great. But it's like now you're a leader. Like your mess ups are bigger. If you yell at your kid and they get caught viral and you're just having a moment of weakness,
You're right.
now people are looking at you like. I think we fear that level of greatness. Like we fear that like what we can potentially become. And I said, lean into your greatness. Like you think about how many people their dreams. I ask people all the time what your dream is. And most of the people, like their dreams are very small. Because the thing about it is if you dream big, you fear like, you fear number one, if I don't actually get to that level, that height of the dream.
Right.
And then like also the fear of if I do. Like I say, people fear a yes. People fear a yes more than they fear a no. Like, a no is like, we're okay, cool, we're rejection. But like, think about it even like before you're married. Think about Deja, your first date. Like, or like the first time that you're interacting with her, or the first time that you tell her you love her, or any of those things. It's like, her not loving you back would have been easier than her loving you back. Cause now it's like, dang, I have to like, this is my
It's a
person.
responsibility.
Yeah, like think about, you getting down on one knee to propose to her.
Yeah.
Like if she says no, it's like, okay, you get to go back living a life that you already have been living. I mean, it sucks. Like you're gonna be sad. I mean, the rejection, but you'll bounce back.
That's easier. Yeah, that's a little bit easier.
But like now it's like, oh, this is my fiance. Now I'm about to be a husband. I don't know what a husband is. You've never been a husband. You're doing something completely different. There is a level of fear there that is like, wow. And I think that's what ultimately.
But positive fear, like you said, and that positive fear will have you like, you want to step into positive fear. Like it makes you want to. It's more of a curiosity. Yeah, it's like where can this go?
Step into your greatness with yes, the fear is gonna be there because you're in a new realm. You don't know what it is. But step into it, like the fear is there, but step like, you know what, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna do the best I can with it.
Right.
I'm gonna take this, I don't know where it's gonna lead. I don't know what the journey is gonna be. I don't know what the end of the road looks like, but I'm gonna walk this path.
Right. And that's breathing on purpose right there. Because once you hit in fear, that's truly like, because that's, I mean, like me and the start of breathing out was all part of just the job, my career, my corporate job. I was at a point of breaking point, like really like needing to quit, right? And I'm feeling like, oh man, I just can't do it. So I started this to keep me up, right? To keep me spirited, to keep my spirits up. And then from there, it kind of took its own thing. And it's like, it gave me the confidence to quit my job, And then of course it gave me like the want to more like breathe on purpose within my own self and my specialties and where I can create something in value for my clients or for other people, and it was like, it wasn't directly related to breathing out. It was in my other lines of life, it was like it was helping me to recognize and become more aligned and focused in those areas. And truly like breathing on purpose with every moment, and like,
that is.
Yeah. Like it literally has propelled me, although it's a passion thing. Like this passion thing has took me and helped me make money in the things that it was just a corporate day-to-day job. Like this, now it's me managing and owning my own consultancy, So like, that's another brand I was able to create off of something that is just a passion.
Passion is leading to purpose. Man, I know we could talk all day about this.
We can.
I know we could, man. I'm definitely gonna have you back on for a whole other episode, and
let's do it.
Because for the future of Over the Shoulder, I'm like gonna be talking about like it's more TV, film, me shooting, videography. So I'm talking to so obviously I do a lot for
Yeah, man. We already tapped in.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
So I'm gonna have you
We're
back
gonna keep
on
this going.
Definitely,
always, man. I look forward to it. Honestly,
man.
like E, I can't. We can do this every day, man.
Hey, listen, man. We got a lot of projects in the works.
We do.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
We do.
I gotta thank you, brother, for being on here,
Thank you, man.
Like for real, when I say the word brother, I do mean that. Like I'm not just saying that,
brother.
man. Like definitely,
My brother.
Go back to 13 years old, man. Like that's heavy.
And you know what? I'm not even surprised because it's so funny when we were kids. I felt this energy. Mm-hmm. Like I could think back and be like, I know whenever I went around Enoch, I felt something like just calming. I felt calmed and like things are gonna be okay. I felt like that as a kid, you know, and I felt like, oh, this is my kindred spirit, like as a kid, right? So, and we were naturally cool as kids, like we naturally always got along, and we always smiled and always had good camaraderie together, and we were always just that way. Martavius and everybody, like
crew,
you know,
the
the
crew,
crew,
man,
right? We would
yeah.
always be there, but it was just like, and we didn't even like, it wasn't even like we were just best friends in school. Like we weren't always hanging around each other, but whenever we came around each other,
It was brotherhood.
it was always. And whenever it was extracurriculars, always a brotherhood. It was never you trying to bag on me or crack jokes or doing things like, you know, which are, it's toxic culture, I think, are what we've been raised on. And these are new conversations that we have to have. But like Joning and all that stuff, like that wasn't something that we ever did.
It was
and
always genuine. It was always positive.
Yeah.
It's again, like I said, it was just brotherhood in the way that we should have had brotherhood, man. So
and that's just it. You know, that's where we got to keep going and just recreating that mold for others, you know?
and
I
we
think
will,
that's
man.
just it.
We start with these conversations, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep flowing. Thank you, brother. I thank you for
sir.
coming on, man. Like
Thank
you
you.
know, this has been an amazing conversation.
The best, always.
Always. And so this was the 5th day of Kwanzaa. It's Nia. It stands for purpose. I brought on a very purposeful brother. And as I always say, that's a wrap.
Yes, sir.